Ladies and gentlemen, dreams. You see, they are not enough. No matter how bright, how noble, how electrifying they feel at night, when the lights are off and your imagination is loud, dreams without structure, dreams without order, dreams without the architecture of effort, responsibility, discipline, are illusions. They glitter in the dark, but vanish at dawn. You need to know this, because no one else will walk up to you, place a hand on your shoulder and say, "Hey, your dreams are not enough." They won't. Not because they don't care, but because they're too afraid to admit the truth about their own. You can dream all you want. You can see yourself standing at the summit, surrounded by applause, money, respect, admiration. But if you don't anchor those dreams in concrete goals, in measurable habits, in a framework of sacrifice, then all you're doing is hallucinating your future. You're not building it. Look around you. The world is full of people with dreams. Go into any coffee shop and you'll hear them talking. I want to write a book, start a business, lose 50 pounds, change the world. Beautiful dreams, bold dreams. But you go back a year later and you hear the same thing. No movement, no forward step. Why? Because the dream was never carved into action, because they confused wanting something with working for it, and that's dangerous. Let's be honest. There is a seductive lie in dreaming. Because it feels good. It feels like progress, like you're doing something. The mind rewards you with little hits of dopamine every time you visualize success. But that's not success. That's a performance. That's a trick your brain plays on you to keep you safe from the hard work of actual transformation. See, goals are different. Goals demand something. They demand sacrifice. They require you to take responsibility for your time, your choices, your pain. Dreams without goals, that's the comfort zone, that's the trap. That's where mediocrity lives. And it dresses itself in hope to keep you passive. That's not hope, that's cowardice. You can want to be a great musician, but if you're not practicing every day, if you don't sit at that piano, callous your fingers on that guitar, live inside the rhythm and scales and boredom of technique, then your dream is a fantasy. You can want to be rich, but if you're not learning how money works, budgeting your income, building skills that actually create value, then you're just wishing, and wishes are for the passive, not the brave. This life is not a rehearsal. You don't get to wander aimlessly for years and expect the gates of greatness to open just because you always believed they would. Life doesn't care how much you want something. It rewards those who organize their wants into action, into goals, into systems of behavior that stack wins brick by brick, even when it's cold, even when you're tired, even when nobody claps. And what is a goal, really? A goal is an agreement you make with your future self. It's a contract. It says, "I will suffer now so that you can thrive later." And like all honest contracts, it must be signed in effort, and it must be paid in time. The problem is, people don't want to suffer. They want it easy. They want shortcut videos, overnight success, viral fame, passive income, but life isn't a lottery. It's a ledger. It adds, it subtracts, and eventually it balances out. If you skip the struggle, you forfeit the reward. That's why goals are sacred. They keep you accountable to something higher than your mood, because your feelings will betray you. Motivation is seasonal, inspiration fades, but a goal, a real goal, is rooted in duty, not emotion. It says, "I don't care how you feel today. I care what kind of person you are becoming," and that's the real war. Not against others, not against critics or doubters, but against the lazy, frightened, comfortable version of yourself, the one that tells you to rest when you haven't earned it. The one that says you can start tomorrow. The one that rewrites your dreams into excuses. You want to know why dreams without goals fail, because there's no resistance, no friction. No friction means no growth. You can't sharpen steel without heat. You can't develop character in comfort. You must aim for order, not chaos, discipline, not passion. You must learn to act when you don't feel like it. That's maturity, that's power. Listen, there are few things more painful than reaching the end of a year and realizing nothing changed. The weight is still there. The book isn't written. The job is the same. The dream is still a dream. You fooled yourself with the illusion of progress, but you never stepped into the fire of real transformation. Because real change hurts, it dismantles who you are, it exposes your laziness, your fear, your mediocrity, and that takes courage to face. A goal is a mirror, it doesn't lie to you. It reflects back everything, your effort, your excuses, your execution. And sometimes it says, you are not who you think you are. That's a hard truth to swallow, but it's also a gift, because it gives you a chance to become someone better. So what do? You start small. You don't build a castle in one day. You lay one brick perfectly, then another. You don't say, I want to be a millionaire. You say, today I'll learn how to save. Today I'll write one page. Today I'll say no to what weakens me, yes to what strengthens me. You make a plan, you put it on paper, you break it down, and then you execute without compromise, because compromise is the enemy of greatness. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your self-respect erodes. And when your self-respect is gone, discipline dies, confidence dies, your dreams die. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is, I'll do it later. That's a virus of the mind, it infects your days. It spreads into your hours, and before you know it, your potential has withered into a memory of what could have been. Goals immunize you against that disease. They give you deadlines, they give you structure. And structure, contrary to what the modern world tells you, is freedom, not restriction. Structure is what turns chaos into purpose. It's what makes a man dangerous in the best way, not because he has fantasies, but because he has focus. He knows what he wants, and he's willing to bleed for it. And what happens when you start living that way, when you tether your dreams to discipline, everything changes, not all at once, but incrementally. Slowly, quietly, you start waking up with clarity. You start walking differently, talking differently. People notice. They may not say anything, but they feel it, because discipline creates a gravitational pull. People respect what they can't ignore. You stop needing motivation. You become the motive. You stop seeking approval. You give yourself permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. And you start creating conditions with your actions. That's the difference. That's what separates the exceptional from the average. Not talent, not luck, but goals, clear, ruthless, unforgiving goals, and this isn't just about success. This is about meaning. Because a life without goals is a life without trajectory. It's motionless, stagnant, it rots from the inside. You weren't made for that. You weren't designed to drift. You were made to aim and to hit. Over and over until your habits harden into identity and your dreams finally meet reality. But here's the catch. Goals don't guarantee success. They guarantee struggle. You will fail. You will fall short. Often you will question your path. You will want to quit. But that is where the real transformation happens. Not when everything works, but when nothing does and you keep going anyway. Because then, you earn something deeper than success. You earn self-trust. You look in the mirror and you see someone who shows up. Someone who fights. Someone who keeps their word. That's worth more than any applause. That's the foundation of legacy. Dreams are the spark. Goals are the engine. But you are the driver. And if you sit there, engine running, staring out the window, hoping, wishing, daydreaming, don't be surprised when the road leaves you behind. You must move. You must engage. You must take responsibility for your own becoming. And I'll say this with full seriousness. The world doesn't owe you the life you imagine, but you owe it to yourself to pursue it with everything you've got. Because if you don't, if you let fear or laziness or doubt steal your effort, then you have no right to complain, no right to be bitter, no right to envy those who did the work because they made the trade. They turned dreams into goals and goals into reality. And so must you. People talk about their dreams like they're sacred, and in a way, they are. They're the seeds of vision, the language of the soul, the whispers of what could be. But what most people don't understand is that dreams by themselves don't build anything. They don't create change, they don't pay bills. They don't produce skill, wealth, or legacy. Without structure, without goals, without a clear system of action, dreams are nothing more than a pleasant deception. soft blanket you wrap around your excuses while the clock keeps ticking. You can dream of becoming a great artist, a leader, a millionaire, a world-class athlete, a voice that inspires millions. That's fine, that's beautiful. But unless you're willing to ground that dream into the messy, uncomfortable, daily labor of goal, setting, and execution, that dream is nothing more than a comfort mechanism, a fantasy that gives you just enough emotional satisfaction to pretend you're doing something with your life. And the danger lies in how good dreaming feels. It mimics the sensations of progress. Your brain gets a dopamine reward just for imagining something powerful. You close your eyes and you can see it so clearly, standing on stage, running your business, holding the trophy. And that vision tricks you. It whispers, see, you're already on your way. But you're not. You haven't moved an inch. You haven't laid a brick. You've just built castles in the sky and convinced yourself they're real. When you have a dream without a goal, you create a void, and that void gets filled with frustration, resentment, anxiety. You start comparing yourself to others who are winning, who are progressing, and you get bitter. Not because they're better, but because they're disciplined. They took their dream and carved it into concrete steps. While you waited for clarity, they acted with courage. While you hoped for the right moment, they built through chaos. They understood that dreams are not enough. Think about it. What is the one thing that separates someone who dreams of writing a novel from someone who becomes an author? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even education. It's the goal, the decision to wake up and write 500 words a day, to revise, to edit, to keep going when it's boring, when it's hard, when it doesn't feel good. That's not dreaming. That's grinding. That's crafting the dream into something real. The illusion of a dream without a goal is that it makes you feel safe. It gives you permission to stay still. It allows you to say, one day I'll start. One day I'll change. One day I'll launch that idea. And that one day becomes never. Because if you don't set a deadline, your brain doesn't believe you. And the longer you delay, the more your dream decays. Without goals, you begin to tell yourself lies. You say things like, it's not the right time, or I'm not ready yet, or I just need a little more inspiration. But the truth is you're afraid. You're afraid that if you actually try, you'll fail. So you'd rather protect the dream as a perfect concept in your mind than risk seeing it fall apart in reality. But that safety, that illusion, it robs you of your power, because a dream you never pursue becomes a burden. A haunting, a ghost that follows you around, reminding you every day of what you could have been. And the problem is, society loves dreams, we celebrate them, we romanticize them. We put dreamers on magazine covers, in movies, in songs. We tell people to follow their passion, to shoot for the stars. But we rarely talk about the toll it takes, the price, the grind. We don't teach people how to break a dream down into measurable goals. We don't teach them how to track their progress, to hold themselves accountable, to sacrifice comfort for clarity. And so they stay stuck, dream, rich but result poor. Goals give your dreams weight. They give them teeth. A goal forces you to define what success actually looks like. It makes you quantify your path. Instead of saying, I want to be healthy, you say, I will exercise 5 days a week, drink a gallon of water a day, and cut processed sugar for 90 days. That's not a wish. That's a contract. That's a plan. And when you have a plan, the dream has somewhere to live. The hardest part about having a dream without a goal is the false hope it creates. You wake up thinking you're on a path, but you're really just spinning in place. You're scrolling through success stories on your phone, thinking about how you could have, or should have, or will someday do something like that. But you won't, not unless you face the reality that dreams are the *** of the journey, not the destination. You don't get to feel accomplished because you dreamed something. You feel accomplished because you did something, because you moved the needle, even if it was just one small notch forward. And the only way you do that is with goals. Clear, deliberate, actionable goals. Daily ones, weekly ones, long-term vision-driven ones, but this is uncomfortable work. This is the kind of work that forces you to confront your own laziness, your distractions, your addiction to comfort. It requires that you say no to short, short-term pleasure in favor of long-term reward. It means getting up early, staying late, missing parties, shutting out noise, and grinding when it's not glamorous. That's not the dream people want to buy. That's the truth they want to avoid. If you're not willing to do that work, then you have to stop calling it a dream. Call it what it is. A fantasy, a daydream, a temporary escape from responsibility. And that's fine if that's all you want, but don't confuse it with purpose. Don't confuse it with calling, because calling requires commitment. It demands that you carry your dream through the fire of discipline and action. Everyone wants the mountaintop moment, the spotlight, the applause, the reward, but they forget the climb. They forget the cold mornings, the bleeding hands, the failures, the setbacks, the loneliness. That's what goals do. They guide you up the mountain. They keep you on track when the dream starts to fade. Because the dream will fade, it always does. Passion burns out. Excitement dies, but goals keep walking. They move forward regardless of how you feel. When you live in a dream without structure, you don't just waste time. You waste yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone who never follows through. Someone who talks big but acts small. And over time, that becomes your identity. That's the true cost. Not the missed opportunities. Not the money you didn't earn. But the version of you that you never became. You owe yourself more than that. You owe it to yourself to take your dream seriously enough to give it a framework, to assign it metrics, to give it a deadline, and then to show up for it like it matters. Because it does matter. Your life is not a rehearsal. There is no backup version waiting for you to get it right next time. You get this one. And if you want it to mean something, if you want to live a life of weight and depth and pride, you can't afford to live in the illusion of dreaming. You must get to work. There is a certain honesty in goals that dreams will never give you. Goals strip away the fluff. They force you to confront the hard edges of life. They don't care about your feelings, your moods, your excuses. They only ask one thing, did you do the work? And if you didn't, they expose that, ruthlessly. That's why goals are so difficult to stick with. Because they demand something you can't fake. They demand sacrifice, structure, and discipline. Without those three, the goal doesn't live, and neither does your progress. Most people like the idea of a goal. They love the vision. They write it down with enthusiasm, maybe even post it on a wall or make it their phone wallpaper. But very few people understand what that goal actually costs. Because every real goal, every meaningful, worthwhile target, comes with a price, and that price is your time, your comfort, your distractions. Your lesser self goals don't come free. They charge rent every single day. Sacrifice is the first thing goals ask for. You don't get to keep all the old habits and patterns that made you comfortable. You don't get to binge, watch shows every night, scroll mindlessly, hang out with people who drain you, sleep in, or coast on talent. That old life you had, it doesn't fit inside the new level you're aiming for. Something has to go, and more often than not, that something is what you're emotionally attached to. The things you think you deserve as a break or a reward. But the truth is, if you want something you've never had, you have to give up things you've always protected. There's a version of you that wants to grow, that wants to win, that wants to live a meaningful, full-force life. But that version can't coexist with the one that chooses ease over effort. There's no negotiating with goals. You don't get to dabble in them and still expect full-time results. You either step into the pain of progress or you settle into the comfort of mediocrity. That's the trade, and most people aren't ready to make it. Because sacrifice hurts, it doesn't come with applause. It doesn't feel good when you're saying no to late nights or giving up the third weekend in a row to study, train, build, or execute. No one sees that part. And because no one's clapping, people quit. They think the silence means it isn't working, but it is. That's where character is built. That's where winners are made. In the moments when no one's watching and you choose to stay locked in anyway. But sacrifice alone isn't enough. You can't just grind endlessly with no direction. That's where structure comes in. Structure is what keeps your energy from leaking. It organizes your time, your attention, your priorities. It turns good intentions into systems. You can have the best mindset in the world, but without structure, you'll waste it. You'll start things you don't finish. You'll chase what's urgent instead of what's important. You'll mistake being busy for being effective. Structure is what separates amateurs from professionals. It's not the talent. It's the routine, the calendar, the plan, the checklist, the journal, the process. It's waking up and knowing exactly what you're supposed to do that day, even if you don't feel like doing it. And when you do it anyway, not only do you get results, you build self-respect, and that self-respect is fuel. Because nothing drives progress like the belief that you can count on yourself. But building structure takes effort. It's not automatic. You have to design it, and more importantly, you have to follow it. Which brings us to the final ingredient, discipline. Discipline is the muscle that lets you do hard things on easy days and easy things on hard days. It's what keeps you from falling back into old habits when life throws resistance at you. Because resistance will come. There will be days when everything in your mind screams to quit, to rest, to postpone. There will be fatigue, doubt, temptation, and setbacks. And in those moments, the only thing that can save you is discipline. Not inspiration, not motivation, just raw, tested, iron-hard discipline. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about honoring the goal even when the goal no longer feels exciting. It's the ability to delay gratification, to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term relief. That's not natural. That's trained. And it gets trained by doing the small, unsexy things repeatedly, without applause, without shortcuts, without looking for an escape hatch. If you want to know where someone's life is going, look at their discipline, look at how they treat their mornings, look at what they do when no one's watching, look at how they recover from failure. Because discipline is the bridge between desire and result. It's the daily vote you cast for the future you say you want. And every time you skip a session, sleep through the alarm, scroll instead of study, binge instead of build, you vote against yourself. That's not just lost time, that's lost alignment with the person you're trying to become. Goals demand that you constantly move toward alignment. They don't tolerate fantasy. They expose you to the truth about your habits, your standards, your identity. And the hard truth is that some people don't actually want goals. They want the illusion of goals. They want to feel like they're making progress without actually enduring the pain it takes to earn it. But the process won't allow that. It can't be tricked. It will break you if you try to cheat it. And that breaking is part of the path. Sacrifice will empty your hands. Structure will narrow your path. Discipline will break your excuses. But on the other side of that breaking is the person you were meant to be. Sharper, stronger, focused, capable. No longer seduced by comfort. No longer dependent on motivation. You'll have a fire that doesn't flicker when the winds of life show up. That's what this process gives you. Not just results, but resilience. People often think success is about ambition, but it's not. It's about endurance. Anyone can be excited for a week. Anyone can start a challenge. Anyone can make a bold post about how this is their year. But few people can endure the repetition, the monotony, the self-doubt, the missed pleasures, the delayed wins. That's the price. That's the path. And that's why goals require more than belief. They require you to bleed a little. The day you understand that sacrifice, structure, and discipline aren't punishments, they're privileges, is the day everything changes. Because you'll stop resenting the process and start trusting it. You'll stop needing external validation and start drawing strength from internal alignment. You'll realize that the struggle isn't in the way, it is the way. That's the only route to something real, something earned, something that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. You don't rise to your dreams, you fall to the level of your discipline, and if you haven't built it, then no dream will carry you. Not for long. Intention is a beautiful thing. It carries hope. It carries vision. It allows us to imagine what could be. But intention alone is not progress. You can sit in your room, close your eyes, and intend to change the world. You can tell yourself that you'll start tomorrow, that you'll write the book, launch the business, fix your habits, heal your relationships. But until you act, until you physically do something, your intention means nothing. It has no weight, no power, no consequence. It's vapor. The world is full of people with good intentions, people who meant well, people who planned to do better, who talked about it, dreamed about it, believed in it. But they never moved. They never crossed the line from theory to practice. And as a result, nothing changed, because the universe doesn't respond to your potential. It responds to your decisions. It responds to what you do. You don't get stronger by thinking about going to the gym. You don't become wiser by buying a book and letting it sit on your shelf. You don't build a business by sketching out logos and ideas that never leave the notebook. Action is the dividing line between who you are and who you want to be. Without it, you stay exactly where you are, no matter how much you believe in your own growth. And that's where most people get stuck. They confuse intention with effort. They get a hit of dopamine from planning, from watching videos, from talking about their goals with friends. They feel like they're moving forward, but they're not. They're just standing in a more decorated version of the same place. They've changed the wallpaper, rearranged the furniture, but they haven't left the room. Action is uncomfortable. That's why it gets delayed. Because the moment you act, you open the door to failure, embarrassment, judgment, pain. Intention feels safe. It's all upside and no risk. But action makes it real. Action asks, what if this doesn't work? And that question terrifies people, because if they try and fail, it means confronting their own limits. So instead, they stay in the comfortable loop of planning, preparing, and postponing, but nothing grows there. No muscle is built without strain. No skill is developed without practice. No dream is realized without friction. You have to collide with the world to change it. You have to make mistakes, feel the resistance, deal with the setbacks. That's where real progress lies. Not in perfect plans, but in imperfect motion. And let's be clear, you don't have to move fast. You just have to move. You don't need massive steps every day. You need consistent ones. Tiny actions, repeated over time, beat big intentions that are never executed. You can spend a year trying to perfect your strategy, or you can spend a year doing, failing, adjusting, and learning. The second person always wins, always, because momentum beats perfection. The irony is, most of the clarity you're waiting for, the motivation, the confidence, the answers, only comes asterisk after asterisk. You start, not before. You don't figure it all out and then take the leap. You leap and figure it out while you're falling. That's the process. That's how humans evolve, through motion, not meditation. You can't think your way into a new life. You have to act your way into one. That means showing up when you don't feel ready. It means making the call, sending the email, writing the page, lifting the weight, having the hard conversation. It means doing what's necessary, even if it's not glamorous or inspiring. Because success isn't built on mood. It's built on repetition, and that's the trap of intention. It's tied to how you feel but action is tied to what you decide and decisions carry weight. They change your environment. They reshape your habits. They force you to deal with reality. Intention lets you float above it. Action pulls you down into it. That's where things get messy. That's where growth actually happens. You don't need more vision boards. You don't need more podcasts, more notes, more plans. You need movement. Deliberate, focused, honest movement. And the truth is, the first step is almost never as hard as your mind makes it out to be. The hardest part is breaking the inertia. Once you start, momentum does most of the work, but if you keep waiting for a perfect moment, some magical burst of clarity or motivation, you'll wait forever. The people who rise in life are not the ones with the grandest ideas. They're the ones who show up day after day with their sleeves rolled up, who are willing to look foolish, who are willing to fail publicly, to be laughed at, to get it wrong over and over again. Because they know the only way forward is through, not around, not above, but through. You can have the best intentions in the world and still waste your entire life. Because good intentions don't build businesses. They don't raise children. They don't fix marriages. They don't create art or solve problems or change systems. Action does. You either move or you don't. You either execute or you watch someone else do it while you stay frozen in potential. So stop asking, what's the best way to start? And start asking, what can I do right now? Because there's always something, one small step, one brave action, one decision you've been avoiding. You take it, and suddenly the fog lifts. You see a little clearer, you feel a little stronger. That's how progress works. It's earned in motion. It's easy to believe that thinking about success is the same as working toward it, but it's not. There's no scoreboard for intentions, no reward for what you plan to do. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what got done, what changed, what improved, what you built, not what you imagine. You are not judged by your potential. You're judged by your output, and that's not cruel, that's fair, because anyone, anywhere, with nothing but hunger and consistency, can act their way into greatness. You don't need permission, you don't need more time, you don't need to wait for your life to be perfectly arranged. You just need to move, to act, to do, and then to keep doing. Progress is not a thought. It's not a wish, it's not a prayer, it's a habit, a lifestyle, a way of showing up in the world. You either step into it fully or you don't, but don't lie to yourself and call it growth if all you've done is think about growing. You don't become better by hoping, you become better by doing, and the moment you accept that, you take back control of your life. There's something profound that happens when you carry a heavy load, not because you were forced to, but because you chose to. When you willingly step into struggle, when you confront the chaos of life and decide, I will bear this, something begins to shift inside you. You start to change, not immediately, not in loud or dramatic ways. But slowly, methodically, something inside you becomes fortified, and what you're building isn't just strength, it's self-respect, it's meaning, and both are only forged in the furnace of struggle. You cannot build real self-respect by avoiding difficulty. That's a lie the comfort-obsessed world wants to sell you. That peace and self-worth come from ease, from leisure, from feeling good about yourself. But the opposite is true. The deepest kind of self-respect comes when you look in the mirror and know, without anyone else needing to tell you, that you've endured something hard and didn't break. You stood up. You carried the weight. And you kept going when quitting would have been easier. That's not arrogance, that's earned integrity. People want confidence, they want identity, they want to feel proud of who they are, but they skip the part where they have to earn it. And that part is always laced with hardship. You don't get to wake up one morning and suddenly feel valuable. You have to prove to yourself, through action, through sacrifice, through disciplined effort, that you're worth respecting. You have to become someone you would admire, and you don't admire people who had it easy. No one does. We're not inspired by the lives of the comfortable. We're moved by the ones who were battered and bloodied by life, who stood in front of pain and said, I'm still here. That's where meaning lies, not in the avoidance of suffering, but in the decision to carry it well. When you struggle, really struggle, something breaks, yes, but not always in a bad way. Sometimes it's the weak part of you that dies. The childish expectations, the entitlement, the laziness, the fear. Struggle strips you of illusions. It forces you to face who you are when the mask falls off. And in that honest reckoning, there's a chance to become something better. You start to develop a kind of quiet power. Not loud, not boastful, but undeniable. It's not the kind that needs to be validated by others. It's the kind you feel when you're alone and there's nothing to prove. You know you've earned it, through the sweat, the scars, the tears, through choosing what's right over what's easy. That's the birthplace of dignity, and dignity is rare today, because we've made struggle seem like a problem to be solved instead of a path to be walked. We numb it, medicate it, escape it, or blame others for it, but the hard truth is this: the struggle asterisk is asterisk the way it always has been. Every philosophy worth anything, every religious tradition, Every enduring story of transformation is rooted in this one core truth, that the path to meaning runs straight through suffering, and not suffering for the sake of masochism. Not aimless pain, but purposeful, chosen struggle, the kind that comes when you say, I will take responsibility for this. When you pick up your burden, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. When you decide that you're not going to let life's chaos turn you into a victim. You're going to confront it and wrestle with it and shape it into something meaningful. There's immense power in that. Because meaning doesn't come from what you consume, it doesn't come from pleasure. It comes from what you contribute, what you build, what you protect, what you're willing to suffer for. If there's no sacrifice, there's no meaning. They're inseparable, and once you understand that, you stop resenting the struggle, you start to respect it, you see the connection between pain and purpose, you see that your growth didn't come from the moments where everything went your way. It came from the friction, from the heartbreak, the loss, the failure, from being knocked down and figuring out how to rise. That's where character is formed. In the hard places, not the easy ones, and character is more than a word. It's the foundation of everything else. Without it, your talents won't last, your relationships won't hold, your success won't satisfy, because deep down, if you haven't earned your own self-respect, nothing outside of you will ever be enough. It will all feel hollow. People spend years chasing fulfillment and wondering why they never find it. They think they need more money, more recognition, more love. But what they actually need is more struggle. More ownership, more purpose. The part of them that's aching isn't empty because of lack of success, it's empty because they've avoided the very thing that would fill it. The responsibility, the burden, the calling to carry something heavier than their own comfort. The irony is, the more you run from struggle, the more meaningless your life feels. The more you embrace it, the more alive you become. You realize you were built to carry weight. Not endlessly, not without rest, but fundamentally, you were made to rise under pressure, and when you do, the way you see yourself begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You stop doubting your ability to handle what life throws at you, because you've seen what you're capable of when things get hard, and that kind of belief can't be given to you. It can't be faked. It has to be earned through trial, through error, through hardship. Through walking the path even when your legs are shaking and your hope is thin. That's when you discover who you are, not when everything feels good, but when it doesn't, and you move forward anyway. The world doesn't need more people chasing happiness. It needs more people building meaning, and meaning isn't found in comfort. It's found in commitment, in standing firm when it hurts, in doing what needs to be done when no one's watching, in lifting more than your share because you believe something bigger is at stake. You don't become someone worth following by coasting. You don't find peace by avoiding problems. You build peace by becoming a person who can handle problems. And the only way to do that is to lean into the very thing you want to run from the struggle. The adversity, the weight, because that weight, it's not your enemy. It's the tool that's shaping you. It's the fire that's refining you. And if you carry it long enough, well enough, with honesty and courage and integrity, you'll wake up one day and realize that the person you've become is someone you truly respect. Not because life was easy, but because you were forged in difficulty. And you, Rose,